Hello, Year 7. I'm going to talk you through your second assessment task for English. So, this assessment task is based on our current study of multimodal text, and we are doing a digital narrative and an in class written reflection. So, this task is due on Wednesday, the 11th of September 2019, that is in week 8. And there are two parts to the task, and both parts are due on that day. So it is out of a total of 40 marks, and it is worth 40% of your overall grade in English this year. We will be giving you 3 lessons in your English classes to work on this task. So 1 lesson each week in weeks 5, 6, and 7. So your English teacher will choose the lesson in those weeks that you will be working on the task. So the task overview. You are going to create a new episode of the Inanimate Alice series that incorporates the features of a multimodal text. You will then reflect on your decisions in creating the digital narrative. So I'm now going to talk you through the submission requirements for the 2 parts. So part A, the multimodal text, which is the digital narrative, is worth 25 marks. And this one is going to be a 2-minute narrative using either PowerPoint, Google Slides, Prezi, or other software. Once you have created the story on that software, you're going to record the story, you playing the story using Screencastify. Now, I'm currently using Screencastify to record this. You will see that there's a link there. That link takes you to these videos which show you how to install Screencastify and also shows you how to sign into YouTube, which will become important in a moment. Your teacher will also talk you through this process. So once you have recorded your digital narrative, you're going to upload it to your school YouTube account, and then you're going to use the link from YouTube to submit the task, and you're going to submit it on the Google form, which looks like this, and you'll see that you need to put in your email address, your first and last name, then you will choose which class you are in, and you will choose which teacher you have, and then you will put the link at the bottom and submit. This must be done by Wednesday, the 11th of September at 3 p.m. Now, just one note about how we're submitting this. We're suggested that you use Screencastify to record because it saves directly to your Google folder. So once you've finished recording, it's automatically saved. That's good because it means that if you have any technical issues, it's already being saved to your Google Drive and you can access it later. One more thing, when you're naming your YouTube video, we want you to follow this naming convention here. So you're going to put your name plus 7 English Task 2. So for example, Tim Smith, 7 English Task 2. Please also remember that you're going to set your YouTube video to unlisted, not private, so that we can view them. Part B of the task, the written reflection, which is worth 15 marks, is going to happen in class on Wednesday, the 11th of September, and that is all Year 7 classes. So whatever lesson that day is your English lesson, that will be when you will do it. Now you will have 30 minutes to complete the task, but you will not be allowed to take notes in. I'm now going to talk you through the specific details of the task. So we've given you a scenario, and the scenario is that you are creating a new episode that is going to be entered into a competition because the creators of Inanimate Alice want to make a new episode of Alice in a new context. So you need to aim your digital narrative at teenagers, and you're creating the short digital narrative about Alice in a new location and a new context that you're going to submit. So the part A, the digital narrative, which is worth 25 marks, should be 2 minutes long, and it should be based on the options below. Now, I'm going to talk you through those in a moment. Whichever option you choose, you're going to be assessed on how effectively your digital narrative integrates multimodal techniques to create a cohesive and engaging multimodal story that includes an orientation, a complication, a series of events, and a resolution. So what this means is that your English teachers are looking for the way that you have used the modes of communication and a range of them to tell the story about Alice, which has a beginning, a middle, and an end. an orientation, some sort of problem, and some sort of resolution. Now, let's have a look at the options. So you will need to choose one of the three options. Option one, the first one, is that Alice is a new student at Marist Catholic College, Penshurst. So if you choose this option, you are creating a story that is based on her first day at MCCP and what happened. You would need to consider the following: the classes she attends, the people she meets, and how she feels about her first day. So we are looking for a really short story. So you're not telling us every single thing that's ever happened to Alice at MCCP. You're just picking one day, maybe one key event. Now, you'll see at the bottom it says you should use at least 3 multimodal techniques. Okay? So when you're putting it together, you need to think about 3 different ways of communicating that. Option 2 is that Alice visits Sydney for the first time. So if you choose this option, you are telling a story about an event that happened to Alice on her holiday in Sydney. So you should consider these things: the location or the tourist attraction she visits, so this should be specific, the people she meets, and how she feels about her visit to Sydney. And you would use those elements to create your story. You'll see at the bottom it says there again, you should use at least 3 multimodal techniques. Option 3, the final one, is an extension option where we are asking you to create an episode for Alice in a setting of your own choosing. Now, this one, because it's an extension option, it has a little asterisk which says teacher approval required, because we want you to negotiate with your teacher whether or not this is the right choice for you. So if you're interested in the extension option, you need to consider the following things. You'd have to choose a particular location where the events are taking place, and then you need to consider an event that happens in that setting. Now, I don't want a story that is about, a whole month and all the things that Alice has done. We're just focusing on one key thing, just like when we watch the episodes of Inanimate Alice in class, each episode is based on one event, okay? So you will need to consider what happens to Alice, the impact of the event on Alice, and how you're going to use multimodal features to convey atmosphere. So this one is not just using them to convey the story or to tell the story, but rather to help us develop a feeling or a sense as an audience, okay, about the atmosphere. You'll also see that in this one, it says you should need to use a range of multimodal techniques, including elements of interactivity. So for this, we're referring to things like you might have your story that requires the reader to choose the pathway and what happens next, like a choose your own adventure sort of story. You might also embed things into your narrative, like videos or things that require the reader or the viewer to click and to choose things. You might even create a little game within the story that the viewer has to play. There's a range of things that could be considered interactive, and your teacher can also help you through that. So if you're choosing the extension, just to recap, you need teacher approval for this one. But whichever one you choose, you're going to write a story or tell us a story of Alice, and then you're going to use Google Slides or Prezi or some other software to put the story together and tell it to us. Now, you need to be considering the way you're going to tell it. So you should be thinking about things like the images, the sounds, the layout, the text or the lack of text. We don't want you to just write the entire story and read us the story. We're looking for a range of ways of communicating, just like in the Inanimate Alice episodes. So once you have chosen your option, you've created your story, you've put it into your presentation software, you're going to screencast it, just like I'm screencasting now, but you'll be playing the story, and then you will upload to your YouTube account and submit that. The marking criteria